Welcome to The Fulcrum Point, the podcast that takes a look at how Catholic education is making an impact with families and communities across Western Washington. This show is brought to you by the Fulcrum Foundation, and I'm your host, Brian Callanan. This episode is all about innovation. Now, we've talked on this show before about how enrollment in Catholic schools has been growing in Western Washington over the past 6 years. And while many families are attracted to the tradition of quality Catholic education, they're also looking for new ways to help a changing student population. For example, how are Catholic schools helping kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities? And why are some Catholic schools changing the school week schedule to not only maximize student health and wellness, but also improve student employment opportunities for the time they enter the workforce? In this episode, we're going to tackle those questions as we look at how the Fulcrum Foundation is supporting innovation at many levels throughout the 74 schools in the Archdiocese of Seattle. We're recording this episode at Eastside Catholic School in Sammamish, Washington, and we're going to let some students here introduce the Options program to us, which helps out kids with special education needs here on the Fulcrum Point.
My name is Jack Champion. I'm a junior in the Eastside Catholic High School. The peer tutor class means much more to me than a class. It means that I get to go spend the day with my 8 best friends at this school. And for their parents to say to me, "Thank you for treating my kid like a normal kid," it means the world to me. And being able to have the option of taking this class at EC has changed my life in ways that I did not think were possible prior to this year.
With me right now is Michelle Barton, Director of the Options program here at Eastside Catholic. Thanks a lot for talking with me.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
I've really been trying to tear down some myths on this podcast, and one that comes to mind is Catholic schools can't provide for kids with intellectual or developmental disabilities. You're really proving that wrong with the Options program here at Eastside Catholic. Tell us about this program and what it does.
Sure thing. Yes, all schools can certainly serve students with disabilities. We've been serving students since the day we opened our doors, which was back in 1980.
Right.
And what the program that we have here at Eastside Catholic is we follow a full inclusion model, whereas our students are never not a part of the entire community. So we don't have a self-contained classroom or program. Our students are fully immersed in the schoolhouse in every which way, from their curriculum, their classes that they take, to assemblies, to athletic teams, to being part of our drama productions, in our mentor groups. They're part of the class. So there's no separation ever between our neurotypical students and our students in the Options program. And we have what is called a blended program where our students take specialized curriculum or classes that meet them where they're at. And those are the core subjects: math and science, language arts, reading, social studies, and then some electives. But they also have the opportunity to take some gen ed courses that they can find success in, so that they'll be with gen ed teachers and with all their neurotypical peers.
These peer tutors are also a part of this too?
We have what is called peer tutor program, which is actually a class. It's an elective. It's a semester-long elective. It's 4 credit. And it's an amazing experience for the peer tutors. They're neurotypical or gen ed students who can sign up for the class. And there's a couple of different assignments if you take the class as a peer tutor. You could be assigned a peer tutor in one of the Options classrooms. So in our math class, you could be a peer tutor in there where it's a group setting. You're working with 3, 4, 5 different students in the Options program. There'll be other peer tutors in the classroom. So there'll be maybe a ratio of 4 to 4 for Options students and 4 peer tutors. So that's one assignment. And then another assignment is you could be a one-on-one peer tutor where you're going to a gen ed class with your Options student.
I see.
Whether it be grade level religion or their art class, their ceramics, or their drama class. Then you are a one-on-one peer tutor and you're just working with that one student.
And just kind of going down the path here, what you're able to provide to these students who have intellectual or developmental disabilities is a certificate at the end of the program. What is that?
Our students at their final year, their 4th year, they earn what is called a certificate of completion, which is a registered, legitimate document that confirms that they attended in a high school setting, that they completed a 4-year high school program. Many post-secondary institutions require this certification upon entrance into their post-secondary after high school.
So some of these students are going on to college?
Yes.
Yeah.
So yes, we have 2 alumni, options alum that are at Washington State University.
Go Cougs, that's great. Yeah.
Go Cougs, which is called the ROAR program. And we have another student at College of Charleston, which has a program for intellectual disabilities. We have another student, alumni at Highline Community College.
Yeah.
We have a student at Bellevue College right now,
Great.
The OLS program. So our students definitely go on to do great things. They go to post-secondary institutions. Some go right into the workforce.
Yeah.
We have a student right now at Panera.
Oh, okay.
So-
Baking up the bread. I can't
Yeah.
wait. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds great. This is a very different program than what public schools are offering students when it comes to intellectual or developmental disabilities. Can you talk about how your approach is different?
So our program is very different from what you would see in a public school setting. The options program intentionally and mindfully and thoughtfully mimics a neurotypical high school setting. So students in the options program at Eastside Catholic, they experience high school just as their neurotypical peers would experience it. Nothing is different to them. They are amongst each other. They're with different teachers, and they are participating in all kinds of things just as their peers are. In a public school setting, you're going to have more of a self-contained classroom,
Right.
where a lot of specialists are going to be coming in and out, and they're going to be working a lot one-on-one, and they're going to kind of just be in that environment. Both approaches, of course, are wonderful. It's just if the families that are sending their student here and putting them through the options program, they want that for their student. They want their student to just feel loved, to be part of a community, to experience high school just as any neurotypical students would. They are very mindful, and they've hand selected the options program because that's what they want. They want their kiddo just to go to high school, be a part of a high school student body, and be a part of that community. They are forfeiting then some of those other services, all that one-on-one, those
Okay.
OTs. They can still get that
Sure.
outside of the school day. They still can access those services.
Okay.
But they intentionally are saying, that's okay that we're not getting that. We just want our kiddo in a high school setting.
That immersion piece is so important, and this is something that is very unique throughout our area here. The only program of its kind for a Catholic high school in the Washington, Oregon, Idaho area, and that's a big deal. But I have to think that comes with some challenges, too. Being unique, you're trying to attract students. I know that can be a challenge sometimes. Can you talk about what it's been like to manage this program over the years?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is just attracting families to our program. You have to build the brand, you have to build awareness. There's oftentimes not a lot of awareness even in our own community. And also being a private school, you're just not as known. Eastside Catholic is more known as, first and foremost, a high school. Secondly, maybe then even a college preparatory high school.
Right.
And then maybe we do have middle school. So you have those kind of in the
elements,
forefront.
yeah.
The last thing you really think of is a college preparatory high school. They wouldn't have a special ed program. So we're so much a unknown, I guess. That's definitely the biggest hurdle. And then also, we are faith-based. We follow a different model than your public schools, and we are tuition-based. So
Yes.
those are some of our bigger challenges.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just really trying to build awareness and kind of ramp that up.
Right. Could you tell us about maybe a student that might have intellectual or developmental disabilities who's really gotten something out of this program? Because it seems like it's making a big impact.
Yeah, we have a student, an example of one of our special ed kiddos right now that's in the program. He came from public, and he was in middle school in public and had a really difficult time. He was a little bit falling through the cracks, not making a lot of connections, not a lot of engagement, peer-to-peer engagement. And it was, I think, a difficult time with many students in his program in the classroom. They were a little bit understaffed, and he was just not making that emotional connection. And he was experiencing a lot of self-harm and just withdrawal. So once he hit 9th grade, they applied here, and he's now a 12th grader. But there was an immediate pause and really just a complete departure of all that withdrawal and self-harm and that self-destruction, because he immediately felt part of a community. He felt loved. We have really low student to teacher ratio. And he just felt that complete, just being fully embraced, fully welcomed, and just so seen and part of our whole student body and our whole community.
Yeah.
Total transformation. It took such a short amount of time, and his parents will forever be grateful. They're a wonderful family, and it's just been this amazing transformation, and he's just flourishing. His verbal skills have just skyrocketed. His academic, his cognitive growth, I mean, all these things just opened up, and now he's this incredibly successful 12th grader who makes such an impact here. Everyone knows this kiddo, and you walk down the hall and he's just a celebrity.
Yeah.
And the other students see him just as another kiddo. That's the other thing that is wonderful, to have this program in a school and have this open format or this full inclusion format, because it gives all the neurotypical community, these gen ed kiddos, gives them the opportunity to see these kids as just peers, as just friends, as just classmates. They don't see them any different.
Right.
Because they're part of their world every day. They're never separated.
Right.
So it helps when they then go out into the community that they're not feeling so like they have experience. They just have no more biases anymore of individuals with disabilities. They just see them as just people and friends and peers and comrades.
Which is the whole goal here, it sounds like.
Every student should be served, no matter of their ability or disability. And I just love that we're faith-based. That's really important to these families. And I think it's so often that a lot of faith-based schools, it is the unknown. It's a little, you have to have staff.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of commitment. You really have to back it up. You have to provide different curriculum. It is its own entity. So there's a lot put into it, but it can happen. We've been doing it since the day we opened our doors. Yeah. And our highest enrollment was at 21.
Yeah.
And our enrollment would be ideal at about 12.
Sure.
Right now on this campus. So we're a little under enrollment, but definitely any school could serve these kiddos. Any school. You just have to put people in place. You have to put programs in place. You have to put curriculum in place, but it can happen.
I believe you, Michelle. It feels like we could talk about this for many days after it, but I do need to wrap up with you. Michelle Barton, Director of the Options Program, helping students with intellectual and developmental disabilities here at Eastside Catholic School. Michelle, great to visit with you.
Thank you for having me.
Up next, how can holding classes 4 days a week instead of 5 actually give students more instruction time and help teachers with professional development? The answer to that riddle coming up from Seton Catholic College Prep down in Vancouver, Washington. You're going to learn all about it coming up on The Fulcrum Point.
To me, being a peer tutor is making the students in the Options program feel seen and loved. The students in the Options program always find a way to put a smile on my face, and I'm so glad I can have the opportunity to be impactful to their lives.
To me, being a peer tutor is a huge privilege. As much as I am there as a helper or tutor for Options students, they're there for me as well and always find a way to brighten my day.
Welcome back to The Fulcrum Point, where we are talking about some new innovations at our Catholic schools in Western Washington. Plenty to talk about here. And I'm joined by Dr. Robert Rusk, who is the president and principal of Seton Catholic College Prep. He's also a member of the board at the Fulcrum Foundation. We're recording this remotely as Robert joins us from Vancouver, the home of the mighty Seton Catholic Cougars. Robert, thanks a lot for making time for me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Let's jump into this. We're talking about innovation in our Catholic schools in this episode, and specifically your work on 4 Means More, the 4-day school week at Seton Catholic. You started this program in the fall of last year, and as I understand it, you're the only Catholic school in the country doing this. So, first question, how many people told you you were absolutely crazy when you brought this up?
Yeah, it was a good amount of people, and it's a great trusting staff. But we first floated the idea just to solve the problem of our current schedule that we were having. It was more of the never heard of something like this. And so that's definitely what was the original conversation.
And then it moved to what after that? Because I know a lot of people have jumped on board.
With anything, right, it changes a lot to handle, and building trust was a huge piece. We were building trust when we navigated through COVID or navigated through, a variety of things, even as small as snow days and doing those online. I think that was one of those pieces. We were building it, and so we had a little bit more emotional bank to try it.
Fair enough. But let's get to the whole question of why did you want to change to a 4-day work week, or a 4-day school week, I should say. What's that like?
We didn't like the current schedule that we were having. So that was the biggest issue that we had, was we were in this hybrid block schedule. And so 2 days were block, 3 days were 7 period, and they alternated throughout. We also had a late start Wednesday to accommodate for our Mass day. We celebrate Mass every week. And then we also threw in early releases throughout the year. So it became a very confusing schedule, probably not atypical with what you're seeing currently in many places. I think that was the biggest ahas was students love consistency, but we didn't know how much. I mean, staff, students, all the way around. It is a blessing to know every day you're going to start at 8, you're going to leave at 3:30, and it's going to be consistent.
And the interesting part about this is, even though you've shortened the schedule to 4 days, you've actually added some instructional time. Can you break that down for me?
Right.
Because I don't know if a lot of people can fully compute that.
We were doing a late start every single week. So you take late starts, you do the early releases. We drop those down to only 2 early releases throughout the year, which is Good Friday and student orientation. And so you take all those hours, plus we added 25 minutes to the day. We were getting out at 3:05, so then we went to 3:30. Not big change at all. And so when you really add up all those hours, it started just really changing into something exceptional. We're at 1091 hours per the school year, and we were at 1085. 1080 was kind of the standard, where it's the average is 1,000, but we wanted to keep the instructional hours. We wanted to keep them the same or increase them. And so we were blessed to do both.
And you have that quote unquote off day. I know it's not an off day, but it's on the Monday of the week. What happens on that day?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that happen on Monday, and then even more, it frees up that Sunday to truly be a day of rest. We knew we were going for that. We just didn't know how great that would work with all the families. But Sunday, being able to go to mass as a family, not worrying about extra homework, being able to travel and visit colleges and do a lot of those things over the weekend, knowing that you have Monday to catch up. And then Monday, so what typical things that happen on Monday, we offer a DMV, driver's ed class for our freshman and sophomore. We do that online, and then they also have their driving in person. And then on Mondays, we also have 1 to 3 o'clock. We do an academic support. It's free tutoring, both in person and online. But we always have 2 different teachers staffed for that to assist. And of course, other teachers, for before finals, we'll have all hands on deck. The other thing that really Mondays started becoming, which was just amazing, was our retreats. We put our retreats on Mondays. So we have a lot of blended classes where if you're in geometry, right, you might have freshmen and sophomores. And the difficult piece with that is your teachers want to go to those retreats, but yet if we have more than 3 or so teachers out during a day, that puts a lot of pressure, a lot of extra substitutes. But if we do retreats on Mondays, staff can go and not worry about missing a class that they're teaching with the other grade levels. And then students can be all in. They don't have to worry about sports or anything else. So nothing starts, no athletics or activities start on Mondays until after 3:30. That really allows that Monday to truly be used for academic, service, and deepening your faith.
Can I jump in with just this idea of professional development for teachers? I have to imagine that's an important part of this too.
It's amazing. Yeah. So other things that happen on Monday, we'll have our staff meetings on Mondays. We'll do professional development. We'll do 4-hour blocks. So they actually learn the PD. As educators, it's always really challenging is, okay, so say you did a late start, you learned a PD for an hour, and then you go and start teaching. You're not really working on how you implement that professional development. With this, it allows you 4 hours of professional development to then implement the rest of the day. The other things that I forgot to talk about on Mondays, which again, there's so many great things that are happening. We have a college boot camp writing so that juniors and seniors can start writing. We have scholarship writing when it comes to scholarship times. Our teachers will then meet with students and write letters of recommendations, which is just absolutely a fantastic thing on Mondays. And then the thing that we did not anticipate using as much was that when students are sick or they're leaving for a sport during the week, normally what would happen traditionally, you then pull that student out of class again. They miss more classwork, right? And then they could get further behind. What we do is we have a teacher proctor the test and allow them to come in on Mondays so they're not missing any of their extra classwork. They stay in the class during that day.
That is really amazing. And I know you've just really started this off, but is there some data that you can point at yet that says, hey, we're having a really positive impact?
Our service hours has been just phenomenal. So we had 25 of our seniors, right? So when you think about your classes around 75, we had 25 with over 200 service hours during the high school time. It just allows them, right? We continue with our 100% graduation rate. We don't have any of those worries. But this year we had 4 students going into the military service academies. We've had 15 Washington State Honors Awards. We're just really excited. I mean, I think we'll have continued the AP scholars. That's what we're waiting on, is all the AP results. That's going to be a big piece. We are an AP Platinum school. And so it's really important being an AP school, academics. With changing this, we added instructional hours. We're seeing them every day instead of just seeing them, when we had a break. So we've still got to wait for those data points because those are really key. But everything else, nothing else has changed negatively in any regard right now.
Oregon State University has actually done some research on this, the 4-day week. There is a trend for schools, mainly public schools we're looking at here, to consider this 4-day week schedule, especially in rural areas of Oregon where it's really caught on. And the research, as I have seen it, shows about 1,600 schools have a 4-day schedule around the U.S. I just wanted to ask, do you see more schools going this way from an operational standpoint? Is it saving money? Does it help you recruit teachers? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think definitely in the more rural areas, you do see this as a teacher recruitment, or in towns where it's still very, either the town shuts down on a particular day, or maybe it's, farming communities. You do see that. But no, there's definitely an influx of moving to this, because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out a way to, save on cost. We didn't. If anything, it actually increased our cost, because we started, hiring teachers for tutoring on Mondays, or bringing in boot camp writing, seminar guest speakers. And so it's only increased ours, but I could see why some people would do it, because there are some schools that are just dropping the whole entire day, and then therefore they save money. It's not a large amount of money because they lose out on free and reduced lunch. And so I think it's still out there to determine what's the best avenue. I love it just because it's opened up our flexibility. I think that's been just truly amazing. Like this next Friday, we're doing a fishing trip to a fishing club. And, normally the kid would have to choose, right? Do I miss out on class, or do I miss out on going to practice? And this is like, hey, it's a club. We're just going to go Monday afternoon, and we're just going to go fish, and they can do that. And it really makes that comprehensive student. I think it's really important. And then giving those days back for, either if they want to travel, if they want to spend time with their family or spend time at their church, I think is priceless.
I think so too. This is a big piece of, I think, student wellness, teacher wellness, your own wellness too. Is that a part of this as well?
Oh my gosh, yes. We're waiting till the end of the year to tally all this, but our attendance right now is drastically up. We want to do a comparison end of the year, because, it's always fun the last couple of weeks of school, you have more absences, but with finals coming up, we're excited to look at our attendance data. Our behaviors are, of course, and we don't have a lot of behavior issues, but, when you think about like the late to schools and those pieces, did all that drop because they know that those 4 days are so crucial. They need to be there. But even if you're not like, oh, I'm just a little, maybe a little downer, you're going to muster through because you had a 3-day weekend. We also picked Monday because we want to prepare for the week. And so students feel, oh, I'm already ahead of the game. Not, oh, my weekend is spent, trying to, that Friday off, spent doing work. They really have that new mindset. That's been a big one.
This is so great. I know we could talk for another hour about this, or another 4 days, I guess, for that matter. But Dr. Robert Rusk, I wanted to thank you so much for helping me out here and talking about this. Robert Rusk is the president and principal of Seton Catholic College Prep in Vancouver, Washington. Great to be with you.
Well, thank you again for having me.
And up next, we're talking about yet another way one of our Catholic schools is changing the school week with an eye towards educating students about the world of work beyond school. That's next on The Fulcrum Point.
My name is Gifty, and I'm a senior at Seton Catholic. Because of the 4-day school weeks, I was able to dedicate my Mondays to volunteering at my local hospital. This allowed me to not only have a positive impact on my community, but also to prepare myself for a career in medicine.
My name is Cole, and I am a junior at Seton Catholic. 4 Means More has allowed me more time to give back to my community and deepen my faith. On Mondays, I volunteer at St. Joseph Catholic School, where I attended pre-K through 8th grade. I help them prepare for their fundraising events, as well as mentor students in the classrooms. Having this extra day has truly allowed me to spend more time with my family and be more present in my spiritual life.
Great to hear from so many students participating in these incredibly innovative programs at their Catholic schools. Awesome stuff. And you want innovation? Let's talk about the newest high school in the Archdiocese, Cristo Rey Jesuit Seattle High School. And with me right now is the president of Cristo Rey, Paul Hogan. How are you, Paul?
I'm well, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I want to talk about this really innovative work-study program you have at Cristo Rey in just a minute, but can you explain what Cristo Rey is and what it's all about?
Yes, so we are the 40th of these Cristo Rey schools in the country. It's a model that started in Chicago in 1996. It was started by the Jesuits in a community called Pilsen, which is an almost entirely Mexican-American neighborhood. So it was a bilingual school. The parishioners came to the Jesuits who were managing the parish and said, we know you guys are educators. We want our kids to have a top-quality education, go to college, have good jobs. And so the Jesuits told them, okay, we'll make that happen. And then they had to figure out how to pay for it.
Right.
And so that's where they came up with the work-study model, which was really just at that time to pay teacher salaries and keep the lights on and operations. And then they discovered how transformative it was for the students and for the companies that they work for.
You're just about wrapped up with Cristo Rey's very first year of existence in Washington. What's it been like to try to establish a whole new school?
It has been terrific and a lot of work and a lot of fun. Of course, the students are at the center of all of it and are the best part of it. So I get to spend time with them first thing in the morning and then as much as I can throughout the day, although I'm much more externally facing.
Sure.
Building from the ground up has taken a lot of community support.
So students are working at a corporate workplace 1 day a week. They're getting paid, and that money goes towards their tuition. Tell us about this.
Yes. So the model works this way. Students work on a team of 4. So one cohort, or 25% of the student body, goes to work on Monday at, say, Costco or Microsoft or Alaska Airlines. And then the next day, another student goes and fills that same role, and Wednesday, a third student, Thursday, a fourth student, and they rotate Fridays. And so when we're fully enrolled, this is our first year, as you mentioned, we have only ninth graders, but eventually freshmen will go Monday, sophomores Tuesday, juniors Wednesday, seniors Thursday, etc. And then the company actually pays for one FTE, and it goes to the corporate work study entity, which works like a temporary employment agency.
Okay.
And we have an agreement with the U.S. Department of Labor for all 40 schools, and then the parents sign a contract that says that the pay for that team of students flows into the school to help cover a significant portion of the students' tuition. So a team of students this year, 4 students, earns $45,000 towards 4 students' tuition. So they each earn $11,250 towards their tuition.
That's amazing. And the jobs these students are doing, can you describe some of the work?
Yes, so they are basically entry-level office jobs, and they work in a variety of industries.
Fulcrum Foundation is one of them.
Fulcrum Foundation is a partner for this coming school year and will place our students in some of the K-8 Catholic schools. Fulcrum has been supportive from the very beginning. But so our students at Alaska, for example, or at Costco they work in HR and quality control, so they work with customer surveys, and they do a lot of data entry in law firms. At Cairn Cross Hempelman, they're scanning documents, and at Microsoft, they're actually doing coding. We also have some smaller partners. So we have one of our board members as an AI startup, and Michael Hall, one of our students who works there, does a lot of their coding and has learned a ton. And they also just bring a lot of life and joy into the workplace, of course.
Yeah.
But we have students who are receptionists. We have students who do kind of, they set up offices and conference rooms for meetings and make sure all the technology is working, et cetera.
They probably know it better than the adults. They would certainly know better than I would, that's for sure. Can you go down this path of the impact that this work has on these students to have that kind of work experience? And if there's a story you could share with one of your students, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, every student, I would say, has a story. In fact, we just had an evening last week where they got to talk about the impact of the work and what they've learned, and the supervisors from the companies were there and their parents were there, and it was powerful because these were students who came, first of all, to a brand new school that didn't exist, and they were nervous 14-year-olds who didn't quite know what to expect, and now they've had 9 months working at PACCAR, for example. So that team of students, they wear a tie and a jacket every day to PACCAR. They have learned dramatically what it means to be in the workplace. And now our students will know, especially by the time they go to college, what it means to work in an accounting firm, what HR is and how it functions in a company. We have students at Cairn Cross who all now think they want to be attorneys.
Okay.
But after a couple of years in a law firm, they'll know for sure. When I went to college, I had this concept that I wanted to be a lawyer, but I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
Our kids will actually have worked in a law firm or worked at Microsoft or at Costco in real world jobs.
And I think they've done some presentations to some of these workplaces
Oh,
too.
yes, for sure. In fact, Alaska is having some of our students present with their supervisors to the C-suite, including the CEO of Hawaiian
Wow.
Airlines, just about their contributions. And Alaska is an interesting example because they had a project that they were going to have to go out to a third party and pay a lot of money to have them do. And it was essentially, scanning documents, and that work is something that our kids are really good at, and they saved them a bunch of money. And they also, according to the supervisors at Alaska, including this guy that is just tremendous named Jason Pankow, just brings so much life and energy into the office.
That's great. Jason's a friend of mine. And
Oh, really?
I'm sure he'll love the shout out here.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. That's great. This is such a unique program. And we talked about this earlier on the show with the Options program at Eastside Catholic that helps out students who have developmental disabilities. It's the only program of its kind in the Northwest at Eastside Catholic here. And I think about what you're doing at Cristo Rey, which is so unique too, and all the challenges there, especially making sure that people know you're out there. Can you talk about some of those challenges, the hurdles you're going through to really establish this work-study program and Cristo Rey in general?
Yes. Well, when you think about it, we're asking corporations to hire 14-year-olds from a brand new program that, again, we're in our first year of existence. And these are mostly for-profit companies that have a really careful eye on the bottom line, but they also have what we've discovered, a tremendous commitment to their communities. And if I haven't mentioned it, all of our students come from, right now, the lowest economic quintile of our culture. And giving those kids who are so capable entree into those corporate workplaces has been tremendous for the companies. But it's a challenge, when we go in and pitch it to certain companies that have not heard about this. It takes some convincing, but many of our companies, like Expeditors, for example, which is headquartered locally, hire Cristo Rey students in 16 other cities around the country. But there have been many challenges also, as you mentioned, Brian, about getting the word out, because we serve a lot of, for example, immigrant communities in South King County that have never heard of the Cristo Rey model. They're looking for great, high-quality Catholic private education, but they don't really know what it means when we first talk about sending their students to work at Microsoft.
Yeah. This is more the myth busting that I've really been trying to do on the show. And I think about this one. If you're in a family that doesn't make a lot of money, you're not going to get a quality Catholic education. You're not going to go to college. You're not going to be part of the corporate world. I just really feel like what you're talking about here and what Cristo Rey is all about is trying to push back on those preconceptions.
Oh, yeah. That is our whole reason for being. Our mission is to serve families and students that wouldn't think that they could get access to a high-quality Catholic education and to college. And they know and they can see now that they have a clear pathway to college. I'd love to talk about our university partnership program.
Yeah, sure.
So our students, when they come in, are part of a network of 40 schools, which has an agreement with 80 different colleges and universities around the country, most of them Catholic, although not all, which, because they know our students have had a high-quality academic experience and have navigated corporate spaces and will be resilient in college, they give them priority in admissions and then meet up to 85% of their demonstrated need, give them tutoring and wraparound support. And just recently, Seattle U's president, Eduardo Peñalver, came to school, and we signed an MOU that says any Cristo Rey student with a 3.5 cumulative GPA will get automatic admission to Seattle U, and SU will meet 100% of their demonstrated need. So our families and our students now know, if I come to Cristo Rey, work hard, get good grades, do well in the work-study program, I have a path to college, and I will graduate with 8 years of Jesuit education and very little debt, which will enable them to basically do what they want with the skills and talents God has given them.
That is amazing. I need to wrap up with you, Paul, but I just wanted to really get to the heart of this and what this means to you to be able to offer a program like this.
It's interesting. I've been in Catholic education for 38 years.
You started when you were 2? That's amazing.
Not counting my own. I started teaching at 21.
I see.
But I would say it's been the most powerful experience of my career, but it's not my or our opportunity as adults to empower these kids. We're being transformed in this process. I've learned so much from our students who often come from families with very deep faith lives, and most of them speak another language at home, and they bring their culture and their traditions, and they have so much talent. And unfortunately, that would lie dormant in too many cases if they didn't have access to this kind of education. They may not make it to and through college and into the workplace.
Wow. So this is something that I think has meant a lot to them, and I have to think means a lot to you too.
It means a lot, and we have a lot of us who have moved from other places to come here to make sure this is happening, and I credit my wife and our principal and our vice president for corporate work study, and all of whom came from other cities to make this project work. A lot of our teachers who are just superb. It's a chance of a lifetime, or at least once in a career opportunity, I would say.
Amazing. I can't wait to see what happens next. That's Paul Hogan, president of Cristo Rey Jesuit Seattle High School. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your good work.
And I appreciate everybody who's listening to this episode of The Fulcrum Point. We're covering the growing impact of Catholic schools across Western Washington, and we thank you for checking this podcast out. So, download the podcast, share it with your friends, subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. The show is brought to you, once again, by the Fulcrum Foundation, and you can learn more about their work at fulcrumfoundation.org. I'm Brian Callanan. It's been my pleasure to listen with you and learn. See you next time.